Welcome back to our Business Partner tutorial series. In this tutorial, we'll be looking at the best practices for creating jobs. From the dashboard, we'll go to the Jobs button, and from here we have just a little bit of navigation in that we have the plus icon, and this would allow us to add a new job, and we have the list view, and then we have a search. This will be useful if you had a list longer than this page and you had searched for something, but at this level it's not very useful. Then you have your search field, and your search field uses the type search forward. So if we start typing something in, you see that it immediately narrowed it down to the only job that had BU in it somewhere. If I type in C, you see it just immediately starts to narrow that list down. So if you have a long list, that is really handy. If you choose a single job, it's going to enter that job. If for some reason this list has been searched and you only have 10 or so jobs showing, then you'll see the all option over here. If we type in here Chapman, and now we're down to 1, we also see that we see 1 of 4, but if we hit the all, we're back to seeing all of them. So that option again becomes more useful as you have a long list of jobs. From here you can also duplicate a job, which is a very handy feature. We're trying to make this as simplistic as possible, so we did need to add this duplicate button here, as opposed to in other places you saw that there was a duplicate icon up here. But this, because there'd be many jobs here, we need you to choose the job you're going to duplicate. So once you've kind of figured out how these areas of navigation are going to work, then you can go into any job or create that new job. And just for discussion's sake, I want to go into a job first and kind of walk through this process. So once we get here to this tabbed view, we have the option to create a new job, which probably we wouldn't want to do from here. We would have wanted to do that from the last page, but we have that option. Now that we're in this job, we could duplicate this job, but as you saw in the list view, it would make more sense in that view to duplicate it, but you can do it from either. We can go back and search for a job as though we were in the list view. We can start searching for other jobs. Or, and this is the most useful button here in this application, is that we can delete a job. And so now let's look at our tabs. The tabs we have are Job Info, Client Info, Rooms, and Notes. And this tutorial, we're going to talk about these two, Job Info and Client Info, in detail, and we'll glance at these for a moment, but that'll be another tutorial where we'll go over that. So here we have the job name, and that's whatever you want it to be. If you use job numbers, you could enter your number there, or you could preface this with a number or use a number suffix, whatever you want to type in there, whatever will make it easy for you to find this. In this case, we've used the builder's name for this particular one. Then you have a field for a subdivision, and this does save them, so if you started typing one that you had put in before, you would see a list and be able to choose that. Then we have our lot number and the status of where this job is in the process: estimate, proposal, completed, canceled, or produced. And in this particular one, it's completed, obviously, but I'm constantly changing these, showing it to people. Then we have the description of the job, and then we also want to put in the date that we estimated it and the date that we proposed it. And if you click on the little calendar icons, you see you can choose a calendar date, or you could actually type a date in, whichever works best for you. Then the next area, this box here represents the terms. Now these copy in from the client. So we've come into a job that is named Chapman, Princeton Hills, Lot 114. You see that here. But when we originally created this job, it copied the terms from the client file. Those terms can be edited at any time you want to. So basically the hierarchy is, when you create your defaults, then you create a client. Those defaults copy into the client, but then you can edit it at the client level. Then when you create a job, it copies whatever the terms were for that client into the job, but then you could edit it for this job. Maybe this job is different than all the other jobs they do terms wise. Maybe they have a unique client. It's a builder and they have a unique client and they want everything paid up front or something like that. So you can see the terms details are here, but this is the actual layout of how the wording is created. So you can see those here. You can override them here, again, just for this job at this point. You wouldn't be backing up and overriding them in your defaults. And this particular set of terms is a 50-50, so 2 payment terms. And again, your estimate conditions and proposal conditions were copied in. So they started out as a default, and then when you created the client, that copied in, and you could have made the estimate conditions or proposal conditions unique to the client. And then once they're here, you could again edit them and make them unique to this job if you needed to. And it wouldn't be messing up the client's original conditions, whether that be estimate or proposal, or it wouldn't be messing up your default conditions in either case. And you see here the proposal conditions are much longer and more legalese than the estimate conditions. Here we're just basically saying we could produce this job if we had all the information we needed for this price, but based on what you've told us, this is what we could produce it for. This is, we will produce this job for this amount of money if you agree to these terms and conditions. And then here's your markup section. Again, it copies in from the defaults, so the markups originate in the default area of markups. And then when you create a client, you choose one of these sets of default markups. And then when you create this job, it copies those in. And again, they could be unique to this job if you need to, but it gives you that starting point. And all of these, every single one of these is editable. You can change all of them. We have this ability to turn the lookup on and off, but this is one area we don't allow you to turn it off on. We want it to recalculate as soon as you enter this, so you see that's what it's doing. I clicked in that field. I didn't change anything, but just because I clicked in the field, it wanted to go and recalculate and make sure that we have the right numbers calculating when we get to the next page. And here we have our taxes, and we've talked about that in the defaults. Again, you can make these unique to this job. Maybe your day-to-day taxes are correct for a particular builder, but today you're building a job for him in another state, so this needs to be unique to that job. And so that's how that would work. And then here's the delivery portion of it. In the delivery, you're going to give us a trip quantity, miles to the job site, and then we're going to multiply those by 2 because you got to come and go. And you may want to enter in there, if there are some unusual mileage, you may want to edit. In other words, you're going a lot further than you normally do. You might want to edit this rate per mile. The rate per mile would probably drop if you were going 100 miles as opposed to your local delivery area. So you got to keep that in mind, what that might need to be. We did a job once that was, 700 miles away, and $2.15 a mile. That really added up a lot, and we didn't need it to be that much. So we edited that. And so you've got a per trip charge here. That's basically to own the equipment or rent the equipment that you're going to deliver it with. And then your delivery rate per mile. So that's for the gasoline and the man driving the truck. And then your delivery rate per box. That's for moving the cabinets onto the truck and then off to the truck and into the house. This delivery text for reports is new. We've talked about it in other tutorials, but we found in the old version, with it being a lockdown description of delivery, that some people would question the cost of the delivery because they really didn't realize what all was involved. They envisioned delivery as the truck coming from your plant to their home, not all of the things that are associated with getting that truck loaded, owning that truck, blanket wrapping cabinets, offloading that truck, moving them into the house. So when you give them all of this information, it makes that particular line item look a little more reasonable. And down here we have our default floor to top of cabinet heights. Again, this is coming from a defaults, but for this job, is this height going to be 95 or 90 or 84? What is this height going to be? Your base cabinet's going to be standard height, or your vanity cabinet's going to be a different height than normal. You can edit it per job as you enter the job. Starts with the defaults, then goes into the job, and then you can edit it. So the next tab here is Client Info. On the Client Info tab, we have the client's billing address and shipping address. We also have, down here you see a relookup field. So the billing address copies in from the client file. And if you edit this, it actually is linked to the client file and would edit the client file. We're assuming that they're moving. That if you edit this, you are changing the client's information. This becomes, in the case of this being a builder, maybe this being a homeowner possibly, but typically a job site or the homeowner. This one is not linked to the client file. This second shipping address, you might even leave it blank until you create a job. It may come in blank and then you add something to it. And here it is not linked to the client file, so you are copying you're creating this shipping address, or it is a copy of what was in the client file. But if you edit it here, it will not change the client file. If you edit it here and you think, oh, wait a minute, that wasn't right, you can re-look up from the client file. And then you have a go to client record if you need to, and you can basically do that from several places. You can do it from here, or you can do it from here. If you do it here, you just get a pop-up and you can go and edit the client information in both fields, both billing and shipping. If you want to go to the client record, you click this and it actually takes you out of this database and takes you to the client database, as does this. And we'll just touch on these two real quick. We're not going to do these here, but in the next video we'll talk about this rooms tab where we add rooms, duplicate rooms, delete rooms, or enter the rooms to actually add the items to the jobs. And then the notes tab, we'll talk about that in the next video. So that covers everything we wanted to cover in this video. Thanks for watching yet another business partner estimating software tutorial. Up next, adding rooms to jobs.